Okay, we're in the middle of a sugya. We had a machlokus between a Baya and Rava regarding Kidushin that's Eina Masurim Labia. You can't go ahead and consummate the marriage. Right? You can't consummate the marriage. So the Rava said, Lo Yavi Kidushin, it's not the Kidushin. And Abaye was of the opinion that that it is good Kidushin. Okay, we'll try to get him on again. And we said this is going to be one of the places where, in fact, we paskin like what, like Abaye. This is going to be one of the places where we paskin like Abaye. Okay, so now, just to see interesting enough before we begin, let's do Taisvis on Nun Aleph Amid Aleph. There's an interesting Taisvis there. Okay, Taisvis Nun Aleph Amid Aleph. Says Kidushin Sheina Masurim Labia Rava Amalei Avi Kidushin Pirish Bekuntris Dichsiv Ubala the Beinin Roya Labila says Kika Chishisha Ubala you need Roya Labia the Kasha the Chayve Lavin Eina Royam Labia the Tafse by Kedushin. It's a Gavaldiga Kasha. We paskin that Kedushin is typhus by Chayve Lavin. If a Kohen Gadol is Mekadesh and Almana. If a Kohen Hedyet is Mekadesh Gerusha, if a Yid is Mekadesh Mamzeres, the Kedushin is Toifis, and you need a get. You cannot be boil. It's a very, very central kasha, right? It's a very partial kasha. How could Rava possibly say that it's Loyavi Kedushin when we know Kedushin is Toifis by Chave Labin, with the exception of Rabbi Akiva, everyone holds Yimukudeshes, correct? It's not Masurim Labia, correct? You're with me, guys? You had a kasha, Gavaldiga kasha. Continues Taisvis, the Kach Nira Lefarish, Kedushin Sheina Masurim Labia, Klaimar, She Isser Habia, Ayidei Kedushin. It's the Isser of Bia that comes through the Kedushin. V'hainu Heichad the Kiddush, Achas Mishtei Achoyos, Bistam, Shemikoidim Kedushin, Hoysa Kolakas Mem Mutaros. The Achshav Ayidei Kedushin, Nesu Shneim. Fellas, you go ahead. There's two girls, Rachel and Leah. Could you marry Rachel? Yes. Could you marry Leah? Yes. You Mekadesh one of them, and you don't know which one. Good. What creates the Issa now? It's your Kidushin that's creating the Issa. When the Kidushin creates the Issa Bia, that's Kidushin Shein Masurim Labia. By Chayav Lavim, even before the Kedushin, you were Asa, right? The Kohen Gadol was Asa to the Almana, the Kohen Hedyet was Asa to the Gerusha. It had nothing to do with his act of Kedushin. It's a beautiful chilik between the two. And for his Taisus, Aval Chayav Lavin, Isuri Habia Leiba Al Yidei Kedushin. Shemi Kaiden L'Chei Nesru B'Bia, Kemo Acha Kedushin. There's no difference. You were asked to live it before the Kedushin, you were asked to live it after the Kedushin. When do we say Kedushin Masurim Labia is when your Kedushin creates the Yisabiyah. It's a very nice distinction between the two to answer a very, very pashut kasha. Okay. So again, Rav is of the opinion that you have a Kedushin, therefore you wouldn't need a get. And Abaye is of the opinion, have a Kedushin and you would need a get. 10 lines up from the bottom on Nun Aleph Amid Beis. Toshma. Misha Kiddush Achas Mishtei Achoyos. The case I just gave you. Guys, Mekadesh, Rachel, and Leah, doesn't know which one. Be'enu Yodeya Eza Kiddush. Noisin get Lezu, but get Lezu. He has to give a get to each one. But 1 second. According to you, Rava, you're not married. Why do you have to give a get? Since you can't live with either one of them, because might be achas ishtoi, right? Might be your wife's sister. So therefore, it's a kedushin shein masurim labia. Why do you have to give a get according to you, Rava? Kashan Rava. At one point, you know which one. So at that point, it was masurim labia, and therefore the kedushin is a good kedushin. Dekanami diktani. We had this yesterday. Eina Yodeya, it says, and you don't know which one. Well, Kadani Eina Yedua, and it's not known. Meaning, Eina Yedua, the implication would be it's not known and it was never known. Any idea means it's not known now, but once upon a time it was known. Okay, get ready for a little Yavamis. Ihachi Maila Memra. What's the Chiddush? What's the Chiddush? Maila Memra says more safe it's Strichalei. Mace Veloy Ach Echad. Mace, if he dies and he has a brother, and these two women are there. Echad Chalitz L'Shteyem. He gives Chalitza to each one of them. He can't marry any one of them. Either it's Achas Kukasai, it's the sister of the one he has Zika to, or it's Achas Chalutzasai. In other words, why can't you do, guys, the catch is like this. Why can't you go ahead, Rod, and I don't know if I have this, I put something up here. Let's see. Meis v'lo yachecha, right? Here's your case. You have two brothers married to. Okay, this is the next. No, I'm sorry. This is the next case, guys. This is the next case. Disregard this. We're not up to this yet. We're not up to this yet. But again, let's go through this very quickly. You have one brother. You have two women falling to the brother. One of them is Yavam Lashuk, and the other one is the sister of the Yavam Lashuk. You can't marry either one. You can't marry the Rabbanon. You can't marry the sister of the Yavam Lashuk. That's called Achas Kukasai, the sister of the one that you have Zika, right? And therefore you can't go ahead and do Yibam initially. I do Chalitza on the first one and then do Yibam on the second one. Then that's Achas Chalutzasai. That's the sister of the one you gave Chalitza to, which is also us, the Rabbanan. So Memela, you have to give Chalitza to both, and that's it. There's no option of Yibum. So that's the Chiddush. So it's not a din it's not a din in we know once upon we know you're married to one of them, we don't know which one, therefore it was Masur and Labia. It's not a kasha on Rava about the Yavamis aspect. So it's us to marry either one, either because Achas Kukasai or Achas Chalutzasai. Now, Hoyle Shnayim, right? You have two brothers. Echad Chaylitz ve'echad Miyabim. Then one does what? If you have two brothers, then one does Yibum and one does Chalitza. Now, why isn't Achas Chalutzasai? Because you didn't give Chalitza, your brother did. So if the brother gives Chalitza, that permits, he took off the Zika. So if the Zika is taken off, she's either Man of Shach. She's either Yavama or she's an Achriya. One more time, guys. One more time. You have two brothers now. So you give Chalitza to the first woman. Now, Miman of Shach. If the first woman is the Yavama, great. Then the second woman is nothing. If the first one is the nothing and the second one's the Yavama, that's great. It's Achas Chalutzasai. No, it's not. Because you are not the one that gave Chalitza, your brother did. And therefore you can marry it. Right. And in fact, if one goes ahead and marries initially, right? Then you would let them stay, because once the brother, let's say in other words, the first one does Yibum, so it could be a good, it could be what, it could be a Achas Chalutzasai, but since it's only the Rabbanon, after he does Chalitza, it takes off the Zika, you could stay together. Okay, but regarding our Shaila, it's not a Shaila. Again, it says that, and Dafka Michlitz Vadim Yuve, Abba Yivume, Vahadim Michlitz, like the Kapaka Achas Kukasai. If you do Chalitza first, maybe you're going to get Achas Kukasai if it's not the one that's a Yavama. Tashma. Shnaim Shekitzu Shtei Achayos. Two brothers who Mekadesh two sisters. Ze Eni Yadea is a Kiddush, Ze Eni Yadea is a Kiddush. We don't know which one. So Ruvain was Mekadesh the Rachel Aleya, and Shimon was Mekadesh the Rachel Aleya. You don't know. So in order to free the woman, what would you need? According to Rava, what would you need? Nothing. According to Rabbi, you wouldn't need anything. Why? Because this Kidushin she'enim sum labia. So the act of Kidushin, you're creating an isabia. You shouldn't need anything. So when the Gemara there in Yavama says, Reuven gives the get to both, and Shimon gives the get to both, it's a kasha on Rava. Why would you have to give a get if there's no Kidushin? It's not in Musulabiyah. Says the Gemara, once upon a time they did know, and they got mixed up. They can nami diktani any yadea like a tani any yadua. Shmamina. Ihachi malamemra. What's the chiddush? It says it's safe. It's three chalei. Mace ulezeh ach. Okay, they died. This one has a brother, and this one has a brother. Good. This brother gives chalitza to both. This one gives chalitza to both. This one has one, and this one has two. One gives chalitza to both. And again, it's a variable of the first case. You're just adding one more possibility. The bottom line is that's the chiddush. That's the chiddush of the case. Toshma, and here's going to be the final upshlag on Rava. The Tani Daf Yomi. This guy's got 5 daughters. This guy's got 5 sons. I got a great idea. Let's make a shidduch. One of your daughters, the Kudeshes Lechem Mibanai, should be Kudeshes to one of my sons. So zicha among the 5, there's a chassan b'kala, but you don't know which one. So kol achas v'achas tzricha chamesh gitim. Each one of the 5 daughters needs to get a get from each one of the sons to go ahead and get rid of the possibility that that's the husband. So each one would need a get because the possibility exists that each one would possibly be what achas v'deishes ish, and then you have to take it off. So each one might be the chassan. They all give. If one of the brothers dies, kol achas v'achas tzricha arba gitin. Each one would need 4 gitin v'chalitza me'echa mehem, and each one brother would do chalitza to all of them. Okay, that would. Now, why in the world over here would you have to give a get? It's Kidushin sheina misurim labia, since you don't know who what the. So what would you say? You'll say that initially you did know and got mixed up. You can't say that. You'll say it says one of your sons to one of my daughters. It's mashma that what? It was not recognizable. Because you said one of the 5 fellas. You didn't say Eini Yodeya. You said one of your daughters to one of my sons. Meaning it could be one of the 5. It's not recognizable. So you see that what? When you need a get from each one, that even though it was Kedushin Sheina Masurim Labia, have a Kedushin when you need a get, Tiyufta the Rava Tiyufta. This is the upshlag on Rava, the Hilchas Kabase the Abaya Bial Kigam. And the Hilchas Kabaya Bial Kigam. It's very fascinating. We have the same Gemara in Elam Etzias also, and it's a Yish Lemidas. Yish Lemidas is the Yud, the Ayin is Eidim Zoimim Lemafreya, the Lamed is Lechad Oimid Al-Gabo, Me'elav, a Lechi that stands up by itself. That's Rashi. Be aware, Taisus learns it's a different Lamed. There's it's a different Lamed. The Kuf is Kidushin Shemus from Rabia. The Gimel we had in Gittin is Gili Das Meget, and the Mem is Mumar Eichel Nevelis. Okay, so those are the Al-Kagan. Okay, that's the Sugya Upshlag. Fascinating Taisus, guys. Fascinating Taisus. Definitely bloggable stuff. Look at this Taisus. Then based on an Aleph. The Hilchasa Kavasi Dabaya Bial Kagam. Maisa Bolif Ne Rabbeinu Tam. A Maisa came in front of Rabbeinu Tam. The Benoy Shel Rav Oishaya Halevi, the son of Oishaya Halevi, Shekidis Bash Asher Echad. He was Makadesh, a daughter of a wealthy man. But Amar said, Bitcha Mikudeshes Li. Your daughter is Mikudeshes to me. And the man had more than one daughter. So he said, Bitcha Mikudeshes Li Stama. V'lei Pirish Plainus Bitcha. And he didn't say so and so over your daughters. He just said that what? No, it's a lachal amaisa. This actually happened. Rabbeinu Tam had a shaila where a person of Oisha Halevi, his son, went over to Abbas Asher and said, your daughter is Mukudeshes to me, and without explaining the specific daughter. Rabbeinu Tam, the Mikudeshes. That what? Mikudeshes. That the daughter is Mikudeshes. V'loimi boyim shidduch be'achas mehem b'shem v'yakach kitshastam. No, it's not. You don't need that fact they went out on a date, that they were mishadach and to a particular one, and then he's mekadesh stam. In other words, he went out on a date with Rachel, and then he's mekadesh stam. Right? The adaita dehachi kitsha. You don't even need that. El afilu leishidach b'shem el shenisratzu b'peh v'ama ploinis eten lecha, and he said ploinis I'll give to you. Yesh lanu loymar da adaita dehachi kiddush the she'eris yisrael leyasu avlo v'leidabel kozov. that this is the one that he wanted to Mekudeshes, because why? He quotes a pasuk that the remnants of Yisrael want to an avla. So says Rabbeinu Tam that Zicha, it's Mekudeshes, right? Right? That why, and who's Mekudeshes too? You guys, we're going to see the oldest daughter. Void, I feel like Pirish Nami, I feel the peh, Yeshlan Olaymar, the Kiddush HaGedoyla. He was Mekadesh the Gedoyla. In other words, if the guy said, the rich guy said, this is the one you Mekadeshes, like that, and he had that in mind, he's not going to lie. The guy's not going to lie. He gives him Rachel, the guy who's Mekudeshes that didn't say Rachel is not going to lie. So says Rabbeinu Tam, Mekudeshes to Rachel. If Rachel's the oldest, right, then the Rachel's the oldest, then Rachel should get married first. Now who are we quoting? That's Lavan. Lavan told Yaakov after he fooled him with Leah, he told him it's not the meaning of our place to give the younger before the older. So in other words, so he's believed to say that Pashtus, that he gave one, Pashtus is going to give the Gedoyla. For Rav Nachim Miyuni Nechlak Allah, he argued on Rabbeinu Tam v'Omar the Havinami Kamisha Kiddush Achas P'dei. It's like being Mekadesh 1 or 2, and you don't know which one. The Ikidir Rabbeinu Tam the Haggadoyla Mekudeshes Mishum B'lo Yasa came from Kamenu Ze'ena. So in other words, what is that Gemara talking about, guys? We had the case in Yavamis. A guy's Mekadesh 2 girls, and you don't know which one. Like Rabbeinu Tam, you know which one. It's the older one. If you're going to tell me there's a din to learn out from Lavan that we should go ahead and marry the older one before the younger one, so what's the whole Gemara begin? Right? The Gemara says, Amir's Mekadesh 1 or 2 sisters, he doesn't know which one. Like Rabbeinu Tam, you know which one. It's the older one. So says this Menachem Yuni, he argues with Rabbeinu Tam. So Loila Ravav, Loila Abaya. And neither Rav or Abaya would hold this Kidushin there. Get. You need a get, but you won't be able to live together. And Cain said, "Nami tzarich litain get." According to Rabbeinu Tam, that you could live together, you shouldn't have to give a get. The Afra Rabbeinu Tam chazaboy v'loyavid uvda. Rabbeinu Tam was chayzaboy, and he did not go ahead and pass in that way. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. So you should be. It's interesting. They bring this older for the younger, and there's a tshuva from Rav Moshe. Again, the tshuva is in the chelik base of Eben Ezra. I think it's the first tshuva. It says something fascinating. He says that it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch about men, that the oldest son should get married before the youngest son. So Lo Yasa came in Kamenu to let the younger get married before the older. Rav Moshe disagrees with that psak. He says that psak is speaking about when they were both engaged. When they're both engaged, that's when the older goes before the younger. But to make someone younger go ahead and be mavatal's mitzvah pir v'rivya to wait for the older one, that you don't do. That Rav Moshe says that you don't do. The whole psak that's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, there's a shach that brings it down, that's brought down, that is only speaking, says Rav Moshe, when they're engaged. So if they're both engaged, the first one should get married, the older one should get married first. But if the older one is not engaged yet, it's speaking about men, you shouldn't go ahead and stop the younger one from getting married because he has a mitzvah pir v'rivya. Okay, that's a very interesting thesis that, like you think that these things never happen. Sometimes stuff happens, right? Okay, we had a Maisa in the Mishnah. What was the Maisa? Let's go back to the Mishnah on Nun Amid Beis. Umaisa b'chamesh noshim ubehen shtei achayos. There was a Maisa. There were 5 women, and among them there were 2 sisters. V'liket adam echad kekol shel teinim. He gathered a basket of figs. U'shelahen ha'aseh, it belonged to them. V'shel shvias ha'aseh, it was a Shemitah year. V'amar harikulchem mekudeshes li b'kol. We said they're all mekudeshes except what? Except the sisters. That the sisters are not mekudeshes. Okay, so now, how in the world can you mekadesh somebody with money that's not your money? So the answer, guys, was the Shemitah year. The Shemitah year, guess what? It doesn't belong to them either. It's hefker. And the chiddush is that you could go ahead and use this to go ahead and be mekadeshes. Says the Gemara. Ma'aser b'chamesh nashim. Amar Rav, shma min maslisan arba, v'naket Rav biyadei tlas. Says Rav, there are four halachas we can derive from this Maisa, but only go ahead and take 3 to the bank, because 1 I'm misupik on. What are the 3 you could take to the bank? After all, the 3 women are Mekudeshes. You're using Perish Shmita. You might think Shmita is, Rashi brings 2 pshat, and the second pshat is La'achla v'loy l'schaira. It's there for the purpose of eating it, but not going ahead and using it for commerce. And over here, you're using it for commerce by going ahead and being Mekudeshes. Shmamina, you could be Mekudeshes with Perish Shmita. That's 1. Shmamina, Kitsha begezel ain't Mekudeshes. If you're Mekadesh begezel, it's not Mekudeshes. How do you hear that? I feel a begezel dida. Mimai, Mektanish Shalahem Hoysa, belong to them. The Shal Shviyas Hoysa. Taima, the reason why you could be Mekadesh is the Shviyas, the Hefkahu. Hashar Sheni Shvua, all the other years of the Shemitah cycle where it's not Hefker, Loi. The inference, guys. The reason you can be Mekadesh with something that didn't belong to you is because it's the Shemitah year and now it's Mufka for you to use. What about the other years? If you're going ahead, if you would have taken this basket and be Mekadesh, it wouldn't work. So that's the second in. First in Mekadesh with Shemitah. Second in, if you're Mekadesh with Gezel, it doesn't work. A third in Shmamina, Isha Nasa Shliach L'Chavevarta, Vafil B'Makam Shenasas L'Tzara. She's accepting Kidushin for other people who are now going to be married to this guy. 3 people are married except the sisters, even though you're becoming a Tzara, right? Even though you're becoming a Tzara. So you can be Mekadesh, even though you're becoming a Tzara. So that's the third halacha we can infer from this Maisa. The idach, what's the 4th one that Rav said you can't take to the bank? Mahi, Kidushin, Shem Mesurun Labia, right? That Kidushin, Shem Mesurun Labia, Habi Kidushin. When you need to get for all of them, you see the Kidushin is a good Kidushin. Fred Gemara ben Chashvei, why didn't you consider it? It says, we Masupik had to learn Pshat in the Mishnah, right? The Pshat in the Mishnah like Abaya, that it's speaking b'vasachas. And that's why it's not a good Kedushin, but Zachas it will be good Kedushin. Or Karava, that you only want Mekadesh one of them, right? You only Kaddish one of them, therefore it's Kedushin. Kisolik Rabbi Zeira, Amal HaShmaitza Kamed Rabbi Yochanan, Amalei Miyam Rav Hachi. Rabbi Yochanan said in the Havamin incredulously, did Rabbi really say this, what? That you can't be Mekadesh with Gezel? Fredig Mar who Loyama? And Rabbi Yochanan did not hold that way? I vom Rabbi Yochanan. If you steal something from somebody and the owner does not give up hope, neither one can make it kodesh. The gaslim, of course, is not his. And the owner, of course, is not his rishus. So the Rabbi Yochanan is of agreement that you can't be mekadesh with gezel. So why did he say incredulously? Did Rav really say you can't be mekadesh with gezel? Rabbi Yochanan also says you can't be mekadesh with gezel. Says he didn't say it incredulously as a question. He said it like Baruch Hashem that the great Rav held like me. Okay, Meisive, you said you can't be Mekadesh with Gezel. 1 second. Kitsha begezel. Gezel, it means when you took it outright. The Chamas is you took it and you stripped money in the person's hands. Ubegeneva, clandestinely you snuck into the house and you stole. Oisha chatav sela miyada, or you chapped the seller from her hand. The Kitsha, Mikudeshes. You see that what? You are Mikudeshes. So how can you say with Gezel you're not? And for the Gemara, Hasam begezel dida. There it's speaking where you stole from her, and therefore she's Michael, and since she's Michael, you can be Mekadeshes. For the Gemara, how could you say that the case of Gezel, Chamas, and Geneva is speaking about Kitsha dida? We only introduced that in the Sefer. Chatfa Sela Miyada. Over there we see he stole from her. Mashma the Reisha, you didn't. In the Tani Sefer, Shechatav Sela Mishallah, Mechal, we can infer the Reisha is Begezel the Almaskin and the Stam Gazela. So how can you say that what is stealing from her? And for the Gemara, Purusha Kamafarish, the latter part of the statement is explaining the first part of the statement. Kitsha begezel b'chamas b'geneva. That's mekudeshes ketzad kigan shechatav selo miyada b'kitsha boy and mekadesh. Right? It works. For the Gemara of Anistisan the gezel dida the kamarav ein mekudeshes. What was the Reisha guys? He stole from them, right? It's a basket. It belonged to them. You're stealing from them. And if it wasn't the Shemitah year, it wouldn't be Mekudeshes. So you see, Rav holds Afilu Gezela Dida is not Mekudeshes. Like Kasha Hadashadachad Leshalach. If this went out on a date and you spoke about Shidduchim, you spoke about, where you want to live, what do you want to do after you're married, and then you steal the money from her and give it to her, then you're Mekudeshes. But where you stomachs like out of the blue, you take something and give it to her without any heads up that you be Mekadesha, then ain't Mekudeshes. A few cases. Okay, just wanted to look up one thing. I wanted to look it up today and I forgot. Okay, a few cases. Hahi Isisa that become Mashia Karva bin Mishcha Demaya. There was a woman. She was soaking her feet in a bucket of water. Also, who Gavra came along a person. He stole chap a zuz from his friend, b'shadul, and threw it to her. Amaloi is mikadeshes li, and said to her, "Be mikadeshes to me." The Ritva that I just looked up was asking L'chaira, why do you have to tell me that she was soaking her feet in water? Who cares? It doesn't have anything to do with anything the price of tea in China. So he wanted to say perhaps then her dot maybe wouldn't be mikadeshes because since she was doing something else, she wasn't focused on this guy. But he says it's not correct. Anyway, that he's the only one who discusses it. Also, Gavra made the Rabbi. The person came for the Rabbi. You want to know if he's Mekudeshes to this woman. Amar less the Choshle the Rav Shimon. The Amar Stam Gezela Yish Bailam Habe. In other words, that money that you took is outright. Only Rav Shimon holds that if you steal, automatically it's Yish Bailam. And Memela, since the guy didn't give up hope, you stole it. She's not Mekudeshes. Ahu Arisa, there was the sharecropper, the Kodesh B'Muzo de Shamche. He a handful of B'Tselem. Asla made the Rava Amalei Man Achloch. Who is Michael to you? In other words, you didn't go ahead and divvy up. You went ahead and you took. Your Havamina is you have a piece of the action in this handful. Mixed in there is what is the person whose field it is. Was he Michael to you? And therefore, what you're not Mekudeshes. You stole. Bahani Mili ben Musa. That if you took a handful. Aval Kisha, but if he took a bundle, Matzi Amalei, Ano Shakli Kisha, Shakal At Kisha. Amalei, Ano Shakli Kisha, Shakal At Kisha, Kisha Ki Kisha. In other words, it used to be that's the way they would divide it up. They would make bundles and divide up the bundles. So if it was a bundle and he knows he's going to get the bundle, he could say, listen, can I get this bundle? You take a bundle, then you'll be Mekudeshes. I know, I was just thinking about the Gemara we had earlier. You were in Kaddish with a woman in the shuk with a bunch of vegetables, and we had a shaila then, it's a bezoyin, is the vegetables the bezoyin, or is the shuk the bezoyin? Why can we push it from here? We said both is a bezoyin. I guess you needed both to be a bezoyin, right? So over here, Mechari, he was, that would answer the kasha guys, right? He was Mekadisha privately. So the bezoyin would be you need both, right? The vegetables and in the street. Over here you had the vegetables, but you weren't in the street, and therefore what? It would be good Kidushin. That would answer the kasha. Who's Sarsir? This was a brewer, not a Milwaukee brewer, but a brewer. It was a brewer. Now, the Kaddish Bepruma de Shichra. He either was using junky leftover date they're made beer from dates in Bavel, or it's some type of kli. And if kli, you're gonna be gairis pruma. Rashi has a girsa peruzma. It says if the hoitzi mimenu hamashka. Once you took the mashka out of the date, it's leftover date. Us and Mary the shichra ashka yamalei amayla tiesim hecharifa. Why don't you take from the better stuff? In other words, the question is are you stealing from the owner and you're not mekudeshes, or the guy is being real and saying, you know what? Why don't you take from the better stuff? Meaning, I'm fine with what you took. Why don't you take from the better stuff? We don't say you should take from the better stuff. In other words, you're not mekudeshes. This guy is saying it facetiously. He's saying it facetiously because he's too embarrassed to say he's so cheap. He's not even giving the guy literally a dry date, but he really is not. So therefore, you're not mekudeshes. Where do you find the din of klachet? It's liyafis. You might remember from your Elam Mitzias days, right? The Kate said, Amru Torim Shalem Midas Truma Truma. Where do you say that a person's Torim Shalem Midas Truma Truma? You go down to your fence field. Taisus learned to speak with that. You made a shliach, and the Einer Rishus means you took from something that you never Rishus to take from. Veliki V'Torim Shalem Rishus. Im Chayshif Shem Gezel and Truma Truma. Im Lav Truma Truma. I mean, I know you're there. How would you know Im Chayshif Shem Gezel and Lav? How would you know if you're Chayish for Gezel or not? Harishabah Balabayas and Matzu. You found that you separated Truma. Why don't you go to the better ones? In Nimsu Yafis Mehen Truma say Truma. If you find better ones, then the truma is a good truma. From lav ain't truma say truma. He meant it sarcastically. He meant it what? You couldn't find better ones. It's like you didn't find better ones, meaning I'm not happy with what you did because I told you stop to take A and you took from B. If the Baal goes ahead and gathers and doesn't say anything, he just adds on to what he gave. Over here, the reason he said you should have taken from the better dates, he's really embarrassed, so he's cheap. And you're not mekudeshes. So that's the sugya, beautiful sugya. Says the Mishnah. Someone's mekadesh with his chelik. He's a kohen. He got a piece of the action. He's a kohen. He got a piece of the action. Ben kutshi Kidushin, ben kutshim kalam eno mekudeshes. Right? It's not mekudeshes. It's not his to go ahead and use. It's his to eat. It's not his to use, as we're going to see in the Gemara. B'maisa sheni, ben b'shogeg, ben b'mezid like Kiddush. Dibri Reb Meir. Reb Meir is of the opinion, guys. Maisa sheni is mum and gavoya throughout Shas. The Maisa sheni is mum and gavo. We've had this before, and right, and therefore, but you do b'shogeg b'mezid is eno mekudeshes. So you doimer b'shogeg like Kiddush, b'mezid Kiddush. B'shogeg you're not, b'mezid you are. We're going to see this in the Gemara. B'hegdish b'mezid Kiddush, b'shogeg like Kiddush to Reb Meir. B'hegdish it's the opposite. Rabbi Yehuda b'shogeg Kiddush, b'mezid like Kiddush. Okay, let's focus on the first thing, fellas. Magdish b'chelka, maybe kachim Kidushin, maybe kachim kalam. Now l'chayra, we had throughout Shas, Rabbi, the opinion of Yossi HaGalili. Yossi HaGalili says, "Umol b'Hashem l'rabbis kachim kalam sheim emayna." In other words, guys, look at me. Do you remember we spoke out the din of Asham Gezelos? You entrust somebody to watch something, and then he come along and he says, "Where is it?" And you say, "Nishka Tzoygen, Nishka Floygen," and he swears to that fact. And then he goes there and admits the truth. He has to pay. He has to pay him, and he has to bring a carbon. That's called an Asham Gezelos. What about if he entrusts him to watch a carbon shlomim or kachim kalim? So it says in Mol Bashem l'rabois kachim kalim that it's considered mum and bailim. So kasha is not Mishnah like Rabbi Yossi Glili, because the Mishnah says I'm a kaddish bechelkoi bein kachim bein kadoshim kalim. It's not Yossi mekadesh. Like Rabbi Yossi Glili, it is yours. You see, you can be mechayev of asham gezelis on it. Says the Gemara. Name of Mastisans like Rabbi Yossi Glili. Tanya umol b'Hashem l'rabbis kachim kalim sheim emayna de Rabbi Yossi Glili. And our Mishnah says what kachim kalim is not yechelik. The Gemara, beautiful teretz. Afilu teim Rabbi Yossi Glili, ki kam Rabbi Yossi Glili mechayim. That's when the animal's still alive. Avol la'acha shchita. Once it's geshachtin and you makabel dam and you dizrika loy, then it's not mum and bailim. My timer kika zachu when he is zeicha in the meat mishulchin gavoya kazachu. You zeicha from the mizbeach. It's already Hashem giving you a chelik. It's Hashem giving you a chelik. Rabbi Yossi HaGalili will be moida when Hashem gives you a chelik. It's not yours to be mekadeshes. It's yours to eat lemashka, to eat it in a very bakavidik way, right? That's the way you should eat it, but it's not yours. Okay. Dekanami, it's also medoyik. Hamekadesh bechelkai. It says mekadesh bechelka. What does chelka mean? That it was divvied up. It's his portion already. So meaning the Mishmah went ahead and divvied up the various portions. Then you can't be mekadesh. So it's speaking. The diak is it's speaking after the shechita, where it's shaykh to say chelkai his portion. Hamekadesh bechelkai ben kachagadim ben kachadam like kiddush. Mamina. In fact, it's a good raya. Okay, I will stop over here. A good morning to everybody. Thanks for listening.